Let's get started, please.
Okay.
Let's do roll call.
Councilmember Snyder. Councilmember Snyder. Oh,
Present.
thank you. Councilmember Halliburton.
Present.
Councilmember Fung will join us in a few minutes. Vice Mayor Pappen.
Here.
Mayor Aliba.
Here.
4 members of the City Council is present.
Okay, let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And for the record, Councilmember Fung is now present. All members of the City Council are present.
Okay, so let's get right into this budget, please, City Manager.
All right, Mayor, thank you very much. Good evening to you. Good evening, Vice Mayor Pappen, members of the City Council. My name is Tom Williams. I'm the City Manager here. I'm very happy to be the City Manager here at the great city of Millbrae. So tonight we do have a study session for the fiscal year 2022-2023 General Fund. And if we have enough time, then we will review the capital improvement program. If not, we'll bring that back to the City Council at the next City Council meeting for a study session on the CIP. Just for the benefit of the public, the city must adopt a general fund budget by July 1st or prior to July 1st of each year. And a fiscal year starts on July 1st and ends on June 30th of every year. So tonight I will provide an overview and then hand it over to Mike Sung, our finance director, for a deeper dive into our general fund budget. But as we get started, and as you all know, the last 2.5 years have been extremely challenging, but we've been able to meet those challenges, and we've been able to persevere as an organization, as a team, from the City Council through all of the great dedicated staff to our community volunteers that sit on our committees and commissions. And I would just like to thank everyone for, the hard work and the dedication and the commitment, not just this last fiscal year, but really over the 2.5 years of this pandemic. My hat is off to everybody in this community. We've grown stronger and we've had many, many successes and are going to continue to have great success. So I'd also like to thank all of our employees. Each one of our department heads are here tonight. And as we do get into the details of the budget, as I mentioned, they're here to answer any questions that you may have, along with both myself and, again, Mike's son. So we have continued to face budget challenges, and those will continue into this next fiscal year. Mike, if you can bring up the presentation, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I get share screen access real quick? Oh, there we go.
Okay, next slide, Mike. Mike, can you go to the, yeah, there you go. Okay, as I mentioned, we'll review fiscal challenges, cost containments, accomplishments. I will just briefly go over that for the City Council. And like I said, Mike will go into a deeper dive into the general fund, recreation funds, and our enterprise funds and the CIP if we have time. Next slide. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we will continue to have budget constraints through this next fiscal year. As you all know, at the beginning of this COVID pandemic in March of 2020, there was a shelter-in-place order, not only at the county level, but the state level, federal level, and who knew, right? The whole world was shut down. That obviously created some very drastic and severe and immediate budget challenges for us, especially as it relates to our transit occupancy tax, known as TOT, or our hotel room tax, as well as sales tax. So the TOT and sales tax in terms of general fund revenues declined as a result of the pandemic. And this is the whole 2.5 years, which obviously it's gone over a couple of fiscal years of budget. But 13.2 million decline in TOT and 1.4 million decline in sales tax. for a total revenue decline of 14.6 million. So we've definitely had, some challenges that we've had to overcome. TOT, transit occupancy tax, normally represents about 28% of our general fund. The recovery in our TOT has been slower than anticipated. Revenue in our TOT remains about 50% of the pre-pandemic levels, which pre-pandemic was about 8.8 million a year. As you will see later on in the presentation, right now our TOT represents about 20% of our general fund. Sales tax represents 9% of the general fund. We have seen modest recovery. Our current sales tax revenue is estimated at $3 million. And we are expecting improved revenue through our economic development efforts. And in general, our micro kind of economic recovery as a city is expected to grow strong over the next 3 years. So what this means really for us is more of a cash flow management issue and problem rather than a sustained structural deficit. Because of the development, the increase in property tax, the investment in the city, and as I said, our economic development efforts, even if the macro economy continues to see some decline over the next several years, as I was telling Mike, 50% of something is still better than 50% of nothing. And so for us as a city, I do believe and would like to report that with everything said, that we're in pretty good shape and our future looks pretty bright here fiscally. So another benefit that we received, the very last bullet point, is 5.7 million in American Rescue Plan Act, known as ARPA, and Coronavirus Aid Relief and Economic Securities Act, known as the CARES Act, from the federal government. So that 5.7 million very much helped our bottom line, and it took our decline of revenue of 14.6 million down to 8.9 million. Next slide. So facing the $8.9 million over the last couple of years, we did implement some pretty severe cost containment measures. Those included, strategies of obviously working with the city council, each of the departments. Staff has done more with less. Many department heads and staff members have worn 2 hats at the supervisory and management level. So I would like to recognize that great effort, and really in a time of great need of the city, our employees were able to step up and do more with less. We did implement also a hiring freeze for critical positions, and there were no new headcounts unless approved by the city council. And actually later on, we have several positions that we are recommending for this next fiscal year. Part-time and seasonal employees, we froze those unless they were cost recovery. Most of this is in our recreation department. I'd like to commend McKinsey for keeping things going, as summer camps and managing through COVID and maintaining a very active recreation department. Also, what we've done is we've reduced purchase of vehicles and equipment unless absolutely essential, or unless the cost benefit was there. We're spending more on maintenance than we were on actually, buying a new car. We did extend the amortization schedule 5 years. Really, this in terms of equipment and vehicles, if we can get 5 more years out of an F-250 pickup truck, we're going to do it. And what that does, again, spreads our amortization costs and our vehicle equipment replacement fund out 5 more years, which we're able to do. And so that's also been a significant cost savings for us. And we do have sufficient fund balances for the vehicles that we are recommending that we replace, which are 2 this year. We've reduced our technology, hardware, and software updates, working very closely with our contractor, Stepford, to assist us with that and really stretching our dollar, but not putting the city in any liability, right? Not to the extent where we'll have to have, a catch-up period that will, kind of get us upside down. So general fund subsidies also to the capital improvement program. The general fund does heavily subsidize our CIP, and we did limit those projects that were deemed to be mandatory, absolutely necessary, and lastly, achievable. I think that last one is very important, is what was achievable. We did discontinue and significantly reduce our reliance on outside contractors and services, saving the city more than $500,000 a year in that area. We reduced our spending and upgrades, did defer some city facilities and maintenance, but we've been revisiting that. So for example, the jacuzzi room needs a new roof. That's something that we have pushed out, but we really can't push that out any longer. We do need a new generator for City Hall. So that's something that we're proposing. So we've just really kind of stretched that rubber band to the greatest extent possible. Also, very, very minor. This is, at the end of the day, less than a couple $100,000. Our unemployment fund and workers' compensation fund, we have sufficient fund balances to cover those two areas through 23-24. And so there's no need to add any funding to those two accounts. And so we will not be doing that in this next fiscal year, 22-23. Next slide, please. So I know, the council, you're very aware of the projects that we've accomplished. We properly scoped the city's general plan process. We properly scoped the specific plan for our downtown. We've negotiated the land transfer from BART, which clears the way for the RFP that's currently out on the street for a hotel development on the city-owned property on the west side of the station. So a number of things, economic development, as I mentioned, recruiting, the biotech campuses. The city council has been heavily involved in the planning of that, as well as Lucid Automotive and getting outdoor supply hardware. But also I wanted to bring to your attention some projects that we actually accelerated that we were able to bring forward this year that weren't part of the original budget. And that includes the Lincoln Circle improvements, water, sewer, storm drain, and streets. That street is in very bad shape. I think it has a PCI of 12. But following the city council's one big policy to where we get all the wet infrastructure in, and then the last project is to come in and repave the street, we're really starting to move and implement that policy. And that's what we're doing on Lincoln Circle. Aviador and Adrian Road sewer improvements. This is something we're able to piggyback on the TOD2 project. It wasn't planned originally, but we're able to implement and bring those sewer improvements, very, very important sewer improvements forward. Arroyo Seco and Vista Grande improvements. Arroyo Seco, homes up there have flooded for many, many years. So we're able to bring the storm improvements as well as water and sewer and street improvements to that area. As long as we are digging up the streets for storm, they also, that area needs sewer and water main replacement and street repair. Also the landing lane area, keeping the council brief on the issues and our dealings with San Francisco International Airport. I'm happy to report that we did receive information from SFO that they were able to get the go-ahead from Fish and Wildlife to maintain and in essence, dredge the Lomita Canal, which is a cause of significant flooding in the landing lane area. But we went to work on an interim storm bypass to help with the flooding. Super improvements on Via Cannon. This is an area up off of Hillcrest that several homes were reporting sewer spills and backflows. And so we went ahead and accelerated that project. And then the Awani Drive, water, sewer, lighting, and street. Awani Drive is our #1 street that was experiencing water main breaks. And so this is a top priority to replace the water main. But as long as we're out there, again, the one dig policy, replace the sewer, street lighting conduit, and then after all of that undergrounding allows us to repave the street. Park improvements, the skate park and fitness court were brought forward. That was funded through a grant. Spur Trail tree planting is a project that actually this past Saturday, we finished the planting of the Spur Trail with some oak trees. Also the Community Enhancement Advisory Committee with their memorial tree planting program has been very successful. The Central Park play equipment, this Friday, we have a ribbon cutting before the first movie night to cut the ribbon on the new play equipment at Central Park. And then also Josephine Wasser-Optimus Park, the landscaping improvements that we're able to use grant funding from a street project and Spur Trail project that was funded through a grant. We were able to stretch those dollars and get some landscaping in. We also addressed the homeless issue, obviously working with the city council and the city council subcommittee through the partnership with Life Moves in the county. There's actually a report on that this evening on the regularly scheduled council agenda. And then downtown crime. The city council did add a dedicated interim foot patrol working with the sheriff's office. As you'll note in this budget, as Mike gets into it here in a few minutes, we are also recommending that we add a deputy to each shift. So 2 deputies are proposed in this new fiscal year budget. Next slide. So if there are no questions of me at this time, I'd like to hand it over to our finance director, Mr. Mike Sung, to take you through the general fund and the details.
I had one quick question. It looks like Pepin has her hand up too. I wanted to know on that, on the funding from the ARPA, was that a delegated number? Was it a formula? Was there a second round? And do we have to pay income tax on it, or how, do we get
is it free money?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's free money from the federal government. It is a formula-based allocation, and it came in 2 tranches. Each tranche was 2.7 million.
And was it like 2.5 months of income? How they was it like the PPP loan kind of deal? It just seems to me like they're going to help people out, but just a little bit. Like,
So,
why did they,
So this didn't come to individual businesses. This was to help offset the revenue declines to municipalities in California from the federal government.
And
So
I guess I'm questioning why they didn't give the whole amount, the shortfall.
Oh, because again, it's a per capita formula and a per capita basis.
Per capita. Okay. Okay. So like Hillsborough, that doesn't have all this revenue and probably wasn't hurt as badly as us, got pretty much the same amount.
They got a little bit less. Mike, I don't know if Mike Sung has the amount per city.
It doesn't matter.
But
It is proportionate to the population, City Manager Williams. So a city that's 10 times our size would normally have about 10 times the amount. So instead of about 5.4 million, they'd get about 54 million. It's really consistent with the actual population. That's how they calculate it out per capita.
It was a dumb way to do it. Okay, thanks. I think Councilmember or Vice Mayor Poppins up next.
Yeah, the mayor asked most of my questions here. Do we have a report out as to what our actual losses were? Because it really seems disproportionate. We could have used a lot more help here as we move forward. So I'm just wondering, because we seem to be left in a big hole. Thank you.
The federal government did ask us to report out approximately how much we've actually lost in revenue as part of their audit process. We've actually responded back to the federal government and to the state so that they have those numbers. They are doing checks. We are known as an NEU, a non-entitlement unit, because we're smaller than a particular amount. So we did go through 1 round of reporting to them in regards to the ARP Act money. For much larger entities, they actually have to go through annual reviews. But we did report back to the federal government approximately how much we lost.
In the future, I think we should copy our federal representatives and state representatives as well, because we're still impacted by that, and maybe put a few little teardrops on the letter you send. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that this slide could go to Congresswoman Spear's office and just say, this just didn't cut it. Is there anything else you can do for us? Because I know there's money left. Councilmember Schneider.
Hi, I don't want to, and maybe Mr. Sung has more information, but as a non-entitlement community, or a non-entitlement unit is the actual language, under 50,000 population, we get less per capita than the 4 cities in San Mateo County that are greater than 50,000. And all of us get less money per capita than the 13 or 15 big cities in California. So, and Jackie Spear actually apologized to me and the other members at one of our COVID county calls over a year and a half ago. The only difference between this funding source and traditional block grants is it was given to the small cities directly instead of making us compete for it. So of all the block grants, of which this is a form of, this is the only one we got directly. But yeah, our people count less than the medium-sized cities, and all of us count less than the big cities. It's outrageous. And Jackie, Congresswoman Spear is aware of it. And that is something that I hope our new congressional leaders will deal with. And we should be asking them.
There's money left. So let's ask before we have to wait for somebody else in office. There's still money.
Absolutely. Great idea, Mayor.
Thank you. Ready to go on, everybody? Perfect. Thank you. Mike, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. So tonight we're going to talk about the general fund overview. For the fiscal year 22-23 budget, our revenues are expected to come in at about 34.6 million, and the expenditures are expected to come in at about 36.5 million, leaving a shortfall of approximately 1.9 million. Over the actual years, the general fund has actually accumulated a general fund balance of approximately 12.7 at the beginning of the fiscal year, and that's excluding our reserves, which is 15% or 4.9 million. So for fiscal year 22-23, we're anticipating the reserve to increase to 5.5 million in the proposed budget, and the available general fund balance is expected to be about 10.9 million by the end of this current fiscal year, in fiscal year 21-22. What we're recommending doing for fiscal year 22-23 is to actually use our fund balance for one-time costs and revenue strategies in fiscal year 22-23. And that'll reduce our fund balance to approximately 8.5 million to start fiscal year 23-24. So want to give a pretty quick overview of our revenue distribution. As Tom had mentioned, we are heavily dependent on a couple of different sources. If you add up property tax, which is our biggest source of revenue, and transient occupancy tax or TOT, and sales tax, those three combined are almost 3/4 of all of our revenue, as compared to franchise and other taxes and departmental revenue and other. So over here, you can see our sources, and you can see that from our amended budget in fiscal year 21-22 to our proposed budget in fiscal year 22-23, you'll see that our amended budget revenue-wise from 31.4 million to about approximately 34.6 million. And I'll briefly go into what some of these actual changes are. You'll see that for property tax, it actually jumps up quite a bit. There's a couple of reasons for that. The amended budget, we're slated to receive a certain amount from the redevelopment waterfall, or the RPTTF, and that is actually something that the county had won against the city of Chula Vista, so they had basically restructured the distribution waterfall, and some of the property tax we were expecting to receive this year, we won't be doing so because of the loss in that court case. The other disparity that you'll see that's higher for next year is that the state frequently underpays the cities and the counties in VLF, or the vehicle license in lieu, property tax in lieu of vehicle license fees. And in this case, for fiscal year 19-20, the state hadn't paid us approximately 1.3 to 1.4 million. The state has actually budgeted that amount in their state budget for fiscal year 22-23. So we'll be anticipating to receive that in fiscal year 22-23. That's why there's a little bit of a discrepancy in that. For sales tax, we're anticipating a pretty modest recovery here. TOT, as you can see, as Tom had mentioned, you'll see it kind of swings pretty wildly. In the lowest point in the 2021 actuals, you'll see that we were actually at about 2.3 million. And that's approximately 1/4 of where we are at our height. At our height, we were at about 8.8 million in TOT. That's how much of a precipitous drop that was due to the coronavirus pandemic. This year, we're anticipated to get halfway there at about 4.5 million, and then next year we're anticipating a pretty modest recovery back to about 6.9 million or so. And then if you go the rest of the way down, the only other thing I really wanted to kind of point out was that for grants and intergovernmental, you'll see we dropped from about 2.7 million to about 15,000, which is our regular reimbursement that we get. Most of the 2.7 million, almost all of it, is really just the ARP-backed money, the second half of it, because it was divided into 2 separate tranches. So that's on the revenue side. On the expenditure distribution side, you'll see that for our city, most of it's allocated to public safety, 29% to fire, 25% to police, and then the rest of the distributions to general government, public works, parks, community development, and some transfers outs as well. You'll see for the expenditures, what you'll notice is there are a couple of pretty big increases for public safety, for fire, and for police, approximately 800,000 in fire and 900,000 in police. That does account for quite a big swing upwards from the amended budget over to the proposed budget from 21-22 to 22-23 as well. Inside here, you'll see that public works does go up as well. That does include some of the capital costs that we were talking about, these one-time costs that we believe are critical and that we should actually use some fund balance for. So all this is kind of what the expenditures look like for 22-23. Now, just talking about property tax in general, going back to the revenues, I'd like to mention just for the public and everybody else that for every dollar that is distributed for property tax, we only really get 16% of that dollar. So you'll notice the what's highlighted in yellow, that's us. You can see the county, the blue slice of the pie is about 28%. And then if you add on the school districts, all of them combined, that's like 50% or half of the pie. And then the remaining few percentage points are all the special districts. They actually get whatever the remaining piece of the pie is. And this is for the ad valorem tax on a property. And what this really kind of looks like is if you use an example of a $2 million home and a 1% property tax on that is 20,000, we'd receive approximately a little bit less than $3,200 off of that. So that's how the distribution actually goes for property tax. And then the other piece I wanted to mention is breakdown of our sales tax. Once again, I've moved our slice over here. That's highlighted in yellow. We get 1% out of the 9.375% sales tax. 6% actually goes to the state, another percent to the county, and then the transit districts get quite a bit as well, and including the Caltrain measure RR that actually occurred at the beginning of this current fiscal year. So this is the sales tax distribution. You can see exactly where it actually goes for the 9.375%. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about the capitals and transfers outs. Capital transfers, including in streets and parks, is a little bit over 1.1 million. We are transferring in some money. That's really cost allocation to help pay for their fair share from some of the other funds for admin services that we provide. The transfers outs, which is about 2.8 million, is actually divided into specific categories. One is the recreations fund. We are subsidizing the recreations fund for operations. And the next piece is the police remodel, and that's debt service at about 261,000. That was actually, the initial borrowing was back in 2011. Good news here is that the last debt service payment is scheduled to be completed in fiscal year 23-24. After that, there's no more debt service for the police model reloan. So we're looking at about $260,000 savings beginning in 24-25 for that. Field license agreement. This is the field license with the school districts. This is how much we're actually subsidizing, approximately about $400,000 or so. And then we're also looking at putting in $545,000 to storm drain for next fiscal year. So the next slide we have here are new and reactivated positions that we're recommending that we should look at adding back in. And first on our list is a new HR director. And we believe that ties into council goal SI4, city government and organizational success, specifically to staff and training development. There's a funding requirement, and then there's a general fund contribution, which would be the general fund share of that position. The next item we're looking at is 3 maintenance workers. Each position is approximately $100,000. And this, we believe, ties into SI3, quality of life and neighborhood enhancement and strong community. 2 of those would be going into parks, occasionally helping out with the utilities, and 1 would actually be a facility attendant for the new Millbrae Recreation Center that's slated to open early next month. The other next proposal we're looking at is adding in 2 deputies from the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office, as Tom had alluded to earlier. Now, each deputy is approximately $300,000, so the total is actually $600,000. But we've reduced that cost because that's actually offset by the $150,000 that we've allocated for overtime for the downtown foot patrol. That won't be required anymore if we add in these 2 positions. As our city manager had mentioned, this will basically add on another deputy per shift. And so, we believe that ties into SI3, quality of life, neighborhood enhancement, strong community, downtown police, foot patrols, community policing, and implementing a neighborhood watch. Next proposal we're looking at reactivating our unfunded management analyst position in finance. The cost is $140,000. That's actually going to be offset with a reduction in part-time costs. So with the activation, we won't need additional part-time services, thus lowering the actual cost down to about $65,000 for all funds and about $40,000 in the general fund. We believe that ties into SI5, fiscal sustainability and economic development. Next proposal we're looking at is activating the management analyst in admin. This would be economic development coordinator. Cost is also $140,000. This will also be offset with a reduction in part-time costs. We're reducing part-time costs by approximately $50,000 in admin. We also believe that ties into SI5, fiscal sustainability and economic development. Also, what we're looking at is having a full-time public information officer, and this also will be offset. The actual cost is $164,000. This will be offset with 2 different things. One is a reduction in part-time costs, which is approximately $75,000, and contract costs of about $36,000 that we will no longer need if this were to become a full-time position. And we believe that ties into SI4, city government and organizational success. And then last proposal we have here is recreation, and this is tied directly to the new Millbrae Recreation Center. They'll need additional staffing, which would include a new coordinator and some part-time staff, and also reactivating their senior office specialist. And that's going to be offset with some part-time funds as well. So we believe that ties into SI3, quality of life, neighborhood enhancement, and strong community. Also included in here is actually the cost for janitorial services, as well as that will increase. So everything's kind of included in there. These are the one-time costs that we were talking about, alluding to earlier, and strategies to fill the budget gap. One thing we're looking at is the expansion of downtown parking management plan and parking authority. That's there's going to be, we're recommending a general fund contribution of one time of $350,000. This should tie into SI5, fiscal sustainability and economic development, which includes enhanced parking authority and parking strategy citywide. We're also looking at additional funding, street funding from the general fund. This is just the general fund piece, which is 525,000. Total street funding is approximately going to be about 3.4 million for 22-23. We believe this ties into SI2, sustainable city and infrastructure investment, improve streets, roads, medians, especially on El Camino Real. We're also looking at storm funding of 545,000. This we believe ties into SI6, environmental stewardship. Also some one-time costs for Bayside Manor, Marina Vista, and Mills Estate. We believe that ties into SI3, quality of life, neighborhood enhancement, strong community, park improvements, projects, which include Bayside Manor, Marina Vista, and Mills Estate specifically. And total cost of design and construction of the 3 parks is approximately going to be about 6 million. They'll be primarily funded through impact fees, but this will probably be the general fund portion in itself. Okay, the departments inside the operating budget, we've grouped everybody into general government, community development, finance, recreation, public works, and in general government itself, we're basically comprised of city council, city attorney's office, city manager's office, city clerk's office, administration, 9 total FTEs. We're currently contracting out our attorney's office. New positions we'd be looking at is an economic development coordinator, a full-time public information officer, and a human resources director. In community development, it's comprised of planning, building, and code enforcement, looking at 10 total FTEs. We're currently contracting out building and permit. In finance, we handle utility billing, budget, debt, accounting, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and payroll. The impact to the general fund remains, sorry, that seems to have accidentally slipped in there. We have 10 total FTEs. New positions include the reactivation of the management analyst, which is senior accounting. And then in recreation, it's comprised of adult youth sports, senior community garden classes, arts, preschool, rentals, special events, and summer camp. We're looking at 7 total FTEs. New positions include the new recreation coordinator and reactivation of the senior office specialist full-time position. Public works, it's comprised of engineering, administration, utilities and operations, and parks. We're looking at 58.5 total FTEs. New positions include 3 maintenance workers, 2 in parks, and facility attendant for the new Millbrae Recreation Center. With that, we'll be moving on to the operating budget for recreation, water, and sewer funds. So for recreation and the enterprise, what we're really looking at is using a lot of capital for a lot of projects that we have planned into the future. I've divided this up into both O&M, which is operations and maintenance, versus capital costs. And in the capital presentation, we'll go into a lot more detail as to what these projects are for next year and what we have planned as well, and the same for the sewer. But what you'll notice is that with the larger fund balances that we see in the beginning, they'll start to get dwindled down as we engage in a lot of these projects moving forward. So just a quick overview of recreation. It was adversely affected as well during the COVID-19. Staff was really quick to take action and help mitigate the reduced revenue by controlling expenditures quite well. As mentioned, with the opening of the new Millbrae Rec Center on June 11th, we're anticipating that we're going to need 3 people, which included the recreation coordinator, the senior office specialist, and the facility attendant, which is actually in public works, and some additional part-time staff. So recreation has moderately recovered. We are anticipating revenue increases with the opening of the MRC. Water and sewers also were affected, although it seems like with the initial reduction in revenue from the commercial side, that was actually offset by an increase in residential usage. There are large and critical capital projects that are programmed in to CIP over the next few years, and additional 0.92 FTE and from water and sewer are going to be funded there. So the schedule is we're looking at a proposed operating budget adoption at May 24. June 6th, we're going to have a planning commission review of the CIP, and then on June 14th, the proposed CIP adoption. I'm available for any questions. Councilmember Schneider.
There you go.
Thank you. And Director Sung, great job. Couple of quick questions or observations. I know in our Friday update, the city manager talked about meeting a potential lobbyist who could help us. I didn't see it anywhere in the documents, but I assume we have funding for that lobbyist? Or because I thought it would come out of operating budget.
Yeah, so that's a, sorry, Mike. Yeah, we do not have funding in this particular budget due to that shortfall that we need to make up. I do believe, well, let me back up. As you'll note, right, if we were to have normalized revenue from our TOT, we would not have a shortfall, and this is kind of what I was getting at in terms of as we recover in the economy, as our TOT continues to increase, we would not have that 1.9 million. So we will continue to monitor the revenue as it comes in, both TOT as well as some of the new developments, as those new assessed valuations are actually recorded at the assessor's office, even though Mike had identified the property tax increase mostly because of that anomaly with the state of California withholding BLF, and now they're making it up to us in property tax. We will be monitoring that and then be bringing things back to the city council. Maybe it's mid-year, but if it's a real critical item, we'll be bringing it back to city council at a regularly scheduled meeting to start adding things and services to the general fund budget.
Understood. I just thought that would be something very good for the city to look at, and maybe we can partner and share costs with similar cities. Second question, public safety. First of all, I want to thank staff and the city council subcommittee for everything working with the homeless or unhoused population. And I did have the privilege of meeting the executive director of Life Moves, and he's just fantastic. But it is costing us money. And in the national and local media, big cities are getting hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for homeless. And I just hope that we have the bandwidth that we send a letter to these various funding entities to say that it is not just San Francisco and San Jose and Oakland having to deal with the homeless population, and maybe we can recover in time some of those funds. So I hope we're monitoring every dollar of all staff levels in that one. And then finally, I understand completely having to offset or push back the vehicle replacement. I just want the public to understand when we do that, and we have to do it, we are not replacing them with electric vehicles, which is one of our climate change goals. Now, the flip side of that, and it's a term most people don't understand, the longer we hang on to old appliances, including cars, we're continuing to reuse the embodied energy into that. So there's a bit of a trade-off between getting rid of an older vehicle, which would likely go to a lower income community, be resold for reuse somewhere else. But we are missing on that component of climate change. Other than that, Mr. Sung and Tom, I think you did a great job with this. And thank you for getting us through hard times. And to all of staff, thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, real quick, we do plan on moving to 100% electric vehicle fleet. And so as we do stretch out our gas vehicles, and again, if some members of the community see some trucks that are dented and kind of, not looking so well, just remember we're stretching our dollar, but we do plan on replacing those with electric vehicle fleet.
And let's hope that there'll be some federal funding for small cities to replace their electric fleet, because that's the big talk right now, is the post office replacing their fleet with electric. So hopefully we're keeping an eye on that with that new council goal of a grant staff group.
I think Councilmember Holliber has a comment.
Thank you. Yeah, one other comment about the vehicles is it seems like every year there's more and more options for electric vehicles, more both cars and trucks that are coming out that are electric. So if we're able to hold on to these for a few more years, it's very possible that there will be more options for us at that time when they're ready to be replaced compared to what there is now. Question about the positions. Are the dollar amounts that were shown on that slide, does that also include benefits as well as salaries?
It does, Councilmember Holliber. This is fully loaded. All of these are fully loaded.
Okay. And the new HR director that's shown there, is that also going to be an assistant city manager position? That's what I had recalled the discussion being.
Yes, council member, that is the plan.
Okay. That's about all that I have. Yeah, and then glad to see the parks projects making it on that list for the upcoming fiscal year, especially Bayside Manor and Marina Vista, which I think both need quite a bit of work. They're $1 million each. I think that is great contribution to each of those parks. So looking forward to hearing more about that. Thank you.
How about Councilmember Fung?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Director Sung, for this detailed proposal and report here. I see that in this slide here, in this proposed budget, I see that we're committing additional fundings to PIOs, public information officers. So I think it is important for us to have a successful public information campaign regarding information releases and how we reach out to our communities, especially when we have a relatively large and sizable ethnic community. So therefore, I think this is an opportunity for us to demonstrate our commitment to diversity and equity, DE&I, to ensure that multilingual access is implemented as part of this effort, especially when we're committing additional funding to this. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Real quick, couple quick questions here. What's the debt on the police remodel? Is there a way to get that? I would like to see us try to remove as much debt as possible sooner rather than later, so we can move on.
There's about $520,000 left. We usually pay the remodel around March or April loan. So we're anticipating to pay out 2 more payments, one in March of 2023 and the final one in March of 2024. So there's about 520,000 or so left.
Yeah, so I just wonder how much, if we could save any interest on some of these little places where we might be able to save interest.
It's pretty minimal for the police remodel loan in itself.
Okay, we are planning in the opening of the new recreation center to be, really sustainable, shall I say? Is it that we can bring in, because we are supplementing that operation right now? Is there a point in time where we will be sustainable instead of having to supplement?
So Mike, I might be able to, so we're always looking at being cost recovery, and just like community development, recreation provides that opportunity. And so we want to be as cost recoverable as possible, but still be affordable. So we, if we can achieve a goal, well, 100% for new development projects and community development, and if we can get to, somewhere between 70 and 80% in recreation, I think that we'd be, we'll do quite well. There isn't a city that I'm aware of in the recreation department that's actually 100% cost recoverable, because you want to keep it up, we want to keep our costs affordable for the residents. But we will consistently, look at our ability to achieve cost recovery. I will say on the operation of the new recreation center, as the council is well aware, we did negotiate a deal with PCE, Peninsula Clean Energy, for the power purchase agreement for the installation of solar panels. That will really help us in terms of a cost reduction to our PG&E utility bill for that building.
Okay, I'm glad to hear all of that. And I do appreciate the public having as much access as possible. But if we can find any innovative ways to be more sustainable or cost recovery, that would be greatly appreciated. Finally, does this budget include current salaries or proposed salary increases and benefits and stuff? Is that built in here? Because I know we have some existing contracts.
That is built in.
Okay, thank you very much.
I think that's all the questions.
All right, Mayor, it looks like we may have
you
some
have-
questions from the public.
Yes, please. We have former Mayor Wayne Lee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I just want to commend staff for the hard work they've done. And particularly during the COVID time, they just did an amazing job in ensuring, especially Tom Williams with his vision, to ensure that we're not in a huge hole. Given that we've always gone through busts and booms because of the tourist industry. I heard that the City Manager Williams mentioned economic investment, economic development. I like to implore the council to really put emphasis on that, including doing the district improvement district. So then we can, because we're going to see the fire assessment expire in a couple of years. Our water costs are going up. Taxes, if we can get more taxes from our retail, then that can offset a lot of the costs that water cost and other costs that we have to incur to the city. I'm afraid that many of our residents are being priced out because we have to keep going back to the homeowners to pay for bonds and other things. So it's been really, really expensive for those people on fixed income. So we really need to find other revenues to offset that. Thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council.
Thank you. And we have Mark Leach.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to ask a question or make a statement. I appreciate Councilwoman Pappen for her question to Mike Sung about whether there are built-in increases that will be there for wage increases that should go to the employees that have kept Millbrae running for over the last couple of years of pandemic. The workers are very dedicated to your city. They're happy to be team members, and they've been waiting patiently to see some improvements in their wages. In fact, they've been waiting since the classic comp study that was done in 2019 showed that many of them are double digits percentages behind their peers. So I'm glad to hear Mike Sung say that those are built into this budget. And that's all I'll say for now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm looking for hands up. I think you guys did a good job. There's no hands up. Very thorough, well presented. And I will comment also how great the staff did through all these times and right through this report. Beautiful. Maybe just one comment. This is a working document, right? So if things like boom in Millbrae, so to speak, or when they boom in Millbrae, all of these things can be revisited. It's required to come on June 30th, but that doesn't mean it can't be worked on during the year. Is that correct?
Mayor, yes, that is absolutely correct. I mean, a budget is a dynamic document, right? It's not a fixed document, and it's a plan. And that's really what a budget is. And so, as mentioned, and I think as the city council is aware, our TOT is forecasted to improve, and our other microeconomic conditions are anticipated to improve. And so as that does, we will be bringing things back to the city council as we continue to get healthy and healthier and improve as a city.
Perfect. I'm optimistic. Council members, Holber.
So thank you. That reminds me of what I had planned to ask earlier. I know in past years we have had, and it might have been under a previous finance director, we had like a rolling 2-year budget. And I noticed this, at least what's been presented so far, is just 1 year. Is that something that we would consider and or has been considered in this process?
Yeah, I mean, that's another great question. I think once we stabilize out of the pandemic and we normalize, Mike and I have talked about this and presenting to the city council going back to a 2-year budget cycle. But we'd like to get through the pandemic and get our fiscal, revenue in kind of normalized times, for lack of a better word, before we do that. So probably another 1 or 2 fiscal years before we would go back to a 2-year cycle.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I'm looking through here. I don't see any other questions or comments.
Okay, Mayor, if it depends on the desire of the city council, we could start our capital improvement program and get through that in a half an hour. If not, continue it.
I think we should. What do you guys think? Council? Yes, I see shaking heads.
Let's go as we can.
Let's do it.
All right, Mike, let's move into the capital improvement program budget, please. While Mike's doing that, I would like to mention that every year budgets are submitted for awards that are recognized with the California Financial Managers Association, as well as at the federal level. And I'd like to report that last fiscal year, our budget did receive the California Municipal Finance Officers Budget Award for improvement. That's the first time ever that the city's received that award. So my hat's off to Mike and all the team in finance and all the department heads and everyone that worked on the budget. So that includes more data, trend analysis, goals within your budget, metrics in your budget, a number of things that a budget will meet the superior aspects of good municipal budgeting. So wanted to quickly mention that we had just received that award and received the plaque, a couple of weeks ago, Mike. So good news on that front.
We hope to continue to maintain it every year.
Okay, our capital improvement program, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Craig, our interim Public Works Director, is actually navigating, and I'll be kind of introducing the capital improvement plan before he kind of takes over. So next page, please. So for our capital improvement program for fiscal year 22-23, our goal is to transition projects that are well coordinated and minimize disruptions to the public and the residents. So in years past, we've had utility projects that were separated from our pavement projects. Moving forward, we're planning these out in conjunction so that all of the utilities and roadworks are completed as one project. And this is directly correlated with Council's one dig policy. And this is, of course, when feasible. We're trying to optimize efficiency and minimize impact. So, trying to get in water and then sewer, and then after everything is done, then kind of lay the foundation and pave things. We've also accelerated a few projects, and a lot of these projects have been accelerated because of changes in priorities. And when we looked at the risk assessment as well. So next slide, please. So for fiscal year 22-23, we're looking at approximately $29 million in CIP. A lot of it's in sewer, and large portions also in water as well. And then there's some streets and some parks components as well. And I'll let Craig kind of give you the details on each of the different projects. So if you could take it away, Craig.
Honorable Mayor Anna Olivia, Vice Mayor Gina Pappin, City Council members. This is our streets CIP. Wani Drive, water, sewer, streetlight paving project. That's the construction, $300,000. We have Broadway water and pavement repair project tailored to Victoria. Construction's $1 million. Pavement repair project design $200,000, and the annual street repair program is for the following year. El Camino Real Avenue landscape media improvements. We have $500,000 set aside for design. The ASAC Core Grant, Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities Grant, is $320,000. Park meter implementation, that's $350,000. We have the pavement maintenance slurry design and construction, $500,000. Sidewalk repair program, $150,000, and traffic calming program of $100,000. Next screen. Funds needed from 2021 study to maintain our streets. We need 2.7 million a year. We have sufficient funding to maintain the current condition. Paved, Corte del Sol and El Capitan. You can see those on the left. Completed design. Design started in F22-23, ready to advertise for construction. Pavement repair, full repaving, Lori Lane, Santa Barbara, and the 800 block of Larkspur. Pavement maintenance slurry, Dumont Court, El Bonito Way, Hacienda Way, La Prenda, Millbrae Avenue, Millwood Drive, Palm Avenue, Queen Anne Court, Spruce Street, Santa Clarita. Other projects completed, the Transportation Fund for Clean Air Grant, that's Millbrae Avenue, and Helen Drive traffic calming projects. In progress, OBAG One Bay Area Grant, 2 Grant, Park Boulevard traffic calming project. Pass, Program for Arterial System Synchronization Grant, Millbrae Signal Coordination, and the MTC Metropolitan Transportation Commission Grant, Mobility Hub Pilot Project. Pavement repair, Lori Lane, Santa Barbara, Larkspur, the 800 block, construction summer 2022. Fiscal year 2022-23, pavement repair, construction, Awani, Broadway, and Lincoln Circle. Design, Landing Lane, San Anselmo, and La Mancha. El Camino Real and Millbrae Avenue medium landscape. $500,000 for planning, design, and outreach. El Camino, it will go from Park Boulevard to Millbrae Avenue. Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities Core Grant, $3 million total, currently under design, includes pedestrian and bicycle improvements to from Millbrae Transit Center. Locations, Millbrae Avenue, San Anselmo, Hemlock, Aviador, Adrian, Burlingame to San Bruno. Parking meter implementation, the traffic calming on Millbrae Avenue pictured, and the sidewalk repair. Sewer. Awani Drive Water Sewer Streetlight Paving Project. The sewer, $1.3 million. Aurora Seco, Vista Grande Storm Drain Bypass Utility Pavement Improvement Sewer, $480,000. Aviador East Millbrae Avenue Capacity Upgrade. Impact fees, $816,979. Broadway Subbasin 4 Sanitary Sewer Replacement. Design, $180,000. CCT, Sanitary Sewer Main Cleaning and Inspection, $200,000. Flow Monitoring Program, $125,000. Hillcrest Subbasin 4 Sanitary Sewer Replacement Project, $2.7 million. Madrone Force Main, $200,000 for the design. Madrone Pump Station, $100,000 for design. Sewer lateral and main replacement program, 700,000. Recycle water project. That is our grant that we're working on the design. WPCP SCADA upgrade project, supervisor control and data acquisition, cybersecurity, $1.5 million. Sludge thickener, gravity sludge thickener and digester 2 rehabilitation, 700,000. Nearshore outfall, 100,000. Capital equipment, 200,000. These are, sorry, for the wastewater treatment plant. And then the cogen rehabilitation project is $2.4 million. For fiscal 21-22 sewer replacement, construction completed, Santa Clarita Avenue, Santa Susana Avenue, Corte Alegre, Robar Avenue, Lori Lane, Dumont Court, Lincoln Circle, Hacienda Way, and Cappuccino Drive. Completed design, Hillcrest Subbasin 4. Upper construction, summer 2022. Under design, Hillcrest Subbasin 4. The lower, La Mancha, San Anselmo, Landing Lane, in alignment with paving, Hawthorne and Sequoia Aviador capacity project. Madrone Pump Station and Force Main. As you can see, that's a picture of the Madrone Pump Station. And then we plan on designing the force main that will run through the fields. Okay. WTC projects, fiscal year 21-22 completed. Digester number 2 cleaning. In planning, recycle water project. SCADA supervisor control and data acquisition master plan. In design, cogeneration rehabilitation project. Construction spring summer 2023. Nearshore outfall project construction spring summer 2023. Sludge thickener and digester number 2 rehabilitation construction spring summer 2023. In construction, hyperchlorite system improvements. Recycle water project planning phase. Evaluate the customer bases for recycled water usage, including regional partnership. Evaluate and determine transmission and distribution system. Receive FEMA Federal Emergency Management Agency planning grant at $150,000. Estimated planning phase cost $350,000. History 2019 feasibility analysis of recycled water facilities at the Millbrae Water Pollution Control Plant. 2-phase, 1.8 million gallons a day and 3.3 million gallons a day. 2021 received planning grant funds to complete planning phase currently in progress to be completed in winter 2022. Water. Wani Drive, water, sewer, street light, and paving project. Water cost $1.8 million. Arroyo Seco, Vista Grande, storm drain bypass, utility pavement improvements, water, $420,000 water cost. Aviator water main replacement, $300,000. Broadway and pavement repair project tailored to Victoria water, $2.6 million. Other water improvements, asset information management system, AIMS, $50,000. Larkspur pump station Skyline water tank replacement project, $3.8 million. Supervisor control SCADA master plan and implementation, water, $100,000. Water zone 2-3 intertie project, following year. Fiscal year 21-22 water projects under construction. Skyline water tank project replacement project. Completed design, Broadway water main tailored to Victoria to be constructed spring summer 2023. Under design, water mains, Awani, Vista Grande, and Aviador to through SFO property. Water Aims Phase 2, Asset Information Management System, GIS, Geographic Information System, Base GIS completed. Phase 2 includes work order and preventive maintenance modules. SCADA Supervisor Control and Data Acquisition Master Plan. Master Plan to be completed this fiscal year. 5-year CIP may be updated to include new projects as recommended by the master plan. Storm. Geraldine Drive, Tioga Drive, Helen Drive, stormwater improvements. Design $200,000. Hillcrest Underpass, hydraulic study peer review, $100,000. Landing lane area hydrology and stormwater assessment, $50,000. Arroyo Seco, Vista Grande storm drain bypass utility pavement improvements, storm, $300,000. Millbrae Avenue Culvert project, $50,000. Asset Information Management System, Ames Phase 2, $25,000. '21-22 storm projects under construction. Cowan Canal improvements managed by Burlingame. Replace pumps, electrical components, SCADA generator. Our cost 40%, 60 cost share with Burlingame. Alley culvert repair, and then under design, Vista Grande Arroyo Seco storm drain bypass. Geraldine Tioga Helen Drive stormwater improvements. Tier 1 project design phase. This is to alleviate flooding and property damage, as you can see by the pictures of the flooding. Millbrae Avenue Culvert project, currently in permitting phase. Relocate new storm drain line into public right-of-way on Ashton and Millbrae Avenue. Arroyo Seco Vista Grande storm drain bypass. Alleviate flooding on Arroyo Seco and property by constructing new bypass storm drain on Vista Grande. Parks. Bayside Manor Park renovation, $250,000. Impact fees, $750,000. Marina Vista Park renovation, general fund, $250,000. Impact fees, $750,000. Central Park tennis court rehabilitation, $200,000. Central Park Green Hills pathway repair, $100,000. Mills Estate Park creation, $200,000 planning. Police station, fire station landscaping, $100,000 general fund, $100,000 grant, depending on grant. Parks 21-22 parks projects completed. The fitness court and Central Park playground. Under construction is the skate park. 23-24 construction, Central Park tennis courts rehabilitation, Mills Estate Park creation planning design, and police station, fire station landscaping grant dependent. Bayside Manor Park 2022-23 planning outreach design, end of fiscal 22-23 and fiscal 23-24 construction. Expand playground equipment, improve existing courts, and increase capacity by adding additional courts, multi-use, and accessibility. Potential for dog park, new amenities. Marina Vista Park, 22-23 planning outreach design, end of fiscal 22-23 construction. Expand playground equipment, improve existing courts, and increase capacity by adding additional courts, multi-use courts, and accessibility. Potential for dog park, new amenities. The garage. City Hall generator replacement, $250,000. Larkspur pump station generator replacement, $250,000. Sewer vac on 7-Eleven, $550,000. Facilities. City's facilities re-roof program for 2023, $150,000. David S. Chakouti, prior to PV solar. Council chambers upgrade, general fund $50,000, pay grant $100,000. EV chargers, city fleets $50,000. Library security door $17,000. Engineering, public work Standard plans and specifications upgrade update. Sewer fund 33,000, general fund 33,000, water fund 33,000. Comprehensive infrastructure replacement plan, sewer fund 75,000, general fund 50,000, water 75,000. The public works standard plans and specifications update. Last major update to city standards was in March 2005. Standard plans have been periodically updated. Time for a comprehensive update. Comprehensive infrastructure replacement plan. Review existing master plans, storm, water, sewer, and pavement. Identify and fill gaps. Example, development upsizing requirements. Prioritize projects based on locations, conditions, and needs. Based on result, 5-year CIP will be updated. Any questions?
That was a lot.
Yes,
Good job, Craig. Thank you.
thank you.
I'm looking for hands. Vice Mayor, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Craig. Craig, I'm a little confused here. Can you go back to one of the earlier slides? Porta del Sol, I really thought we had finished with that one. Says completed design. You mean to tell me that we still have not repaved that street?
That has been repaved, as the picture shows on the left.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Okay, so full repaving. Okay, glad to hear that one. Thank you very much. But it said ready to advertise construction, and that's what threw me off. So we want to make sure we know what's been completed, because that went on for years and years and years. You mentioned, I'm sorry.
I think that was for the ones below, I think. Yeah, it should have been, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because you want credit. You did it. Finally got done. Thank you very much. El Camino Real, you mentioned outreach. Kind of, what are we talking about here? I just see further delays. Why? I mean, I thought we've gone over all this. It says planning, design, and outreach. What does that mean?
This is for the design of the median from Millbrae Avenue to Park Boulevard. All re-landscaped, the pedestrian.
Yeah, no. I think all that's great and wonderful, but I'm not quite clear what further outreach we need to do, except maybe brief the city council here.
Vice Mayor,
Vice Mayor,
when's it going to be done?
It's going to be done. Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
I said that you always want to know, when is it going to be done?
Yes, I do.
So the outreach there is defined just as we go through the planning effort and design effort with our landscape architectural firm, that we do bring it to the city council. If there's any community outreach and input from the community, we'd like to have a couple of community meetings to just, go over the design and get everybody's input. And then also there's outreach with Caltrans and coordination with Caltrans.
Okay. Yeah, just, I'd love to see these things move along. It would be lovely to see these, because you had all those great numbers, all this budgeting and everything like that. If we track from funding, design, permitting, construction, and completion, like what is, some of these things have been before us before, and it would be so much more helpful if we could see those elements completed and as to when. So if we could just be on that thought process moving forward, that would be helpful. I did want to note, because water is such an enormous issue for all of us, especially those in Millbrae who get their water bills regularly. Water retention is big on the governor's list. A lot of projects happening here. So, I hope that our staff is in communication with our elected representatives at the state level, and maybe even the federal level, when it comes to some of our water projects. we may be able to get some additional funding to help move those along. And I think just two final questions here. Central Park tennis courts. Okay, we had budgeted for those before the fire. Is this like a new budget item? Because it really shouldn't be. That money's been sitting there and we have one less tennis court.
So Mayor, maybe I can help. It was not a rollover. It is new money. I
What
don't
happened to
know.
the last money?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to research that and get back, because I do know that this has been on the priority list with the city council since 2016 or so. But we are bringing it forward in the fall. That's the good news. I can see where the funding allocation went.
Yes,
For the
thank you.
project.
All right, we greatly.
Okay, Vice Mayor, I'm gonna go to another council member, please, because we are limited on time here.
Yes, thank you.
Councilmember Schneider?
Thank you, Mayor. Because we're limited in time and all of these projects are great, Acting Public Works Director Sentis, thank you so much. Director Sung, City Manager, thank you. I looked at a lot of these, and because a lot of them have an environmental overlay, included some of them in our green infrastructure plan, which seems to have been forgotten. It was before City Manager Williams' time. We need to pull that back. But I'm wondering if we might be able to have some one-on-ones with Mike, Craig, and Tom and go through some of these, because I looked at 6 or 7 projects that might be able to get funding from outside sources, but I don't want to take up our time here for that. Gina got the tennis courts. I have the same memory that we carried over the money for many different budget years for that one. My one question that is sort of a new thing, in the detail, you talk about bringing back the sidewalk replacement where the residents pay for the sidewalk, but they're working with the city. Does that mean we're bringing back the pilot project that we tried in the winter of 2020, just before we went into lockdown, which was piloted in my neighborhood?
That is
and I
correct.
Think that is great. That's fantastic. Again, I don't want to take up our last 7 minutes, but I have a page and a half of little comments. And if we did actually approve the new internal grant team, would love to sit down with whomever that might be and talk about these various, because they've got green attributes, both federal, state, and local, or even Peninsula Clean Energy on some of these, and see if we can get some costs covered. Thank you. Well done. And wow, I hope the public realizes just how much they do. I have heard recently that the public is back to being somewhat cruel to our public works staff. So I hope the public really appreciates how much work all of you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Holliber.
Thank you. I noticed that there's also a 200,000 for the Mills Estate Park reactivation for the design phase. I think last year, or maybe 2 years ago, we applied for a grant that we weren't successful with, but I think we had a design at that time. So is this like a rescoping of the project then?
Yeah, Councilman, not necessarily a rescoping. We do want to take it back out to the community, but that cost includes construction documents as well. So, not just preliminary design, but construction documents.
Okay. And I believe, if not now, very soon, the window will be open for the OBAG 3 grants through CTAG and MPC. Do we have any projects that we're submitting for that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we do. We are actually working on that. So as the NOFA Notice of Funding Availability comes out, we have several actually that we have that we'll bring to the City Council for final selection as we move forward.
Okay. Well, I believe it's a pretty narrow window. So
I believe it's only, if I remember correctly, it's like 30 days.
Yeah.
30, 45 days. So very, very quick.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if we don't have time to bring it to the council, I would say just submit what we have. But if it can go to the council first, that'd be fine. Okay. That's all that I have. Thank you.
And Councilmember Holliver, one other thing. We have about $72,000 that TOD2 project developer contributed to the barriers on El Camino. So that will also, you'll have me to know that that will also be designed into any landscape, design improvements for El Camino.
Yeah, great to see that. I know we've been waiting on that for a while, so it would be good to have that implemented around the time when that project opens. Along those lines, sorry to interrupt, but along those lines, have we made any progress on the second right turn lane onto El Camino Real? So I think we had anticipated having that complete around the time when the project opens as well.
Yeah, another great question. We ran into a little bit of a roadblock with Caltrans, but that's a work in progress. Continue working with them to get that second right turn lane in for northbound El Camino off of Millbrae Avenue.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah,
We did not lose sight of it. It's
first
just
feet on the gas on that project. I know that was a big concern around the time when both that project and the Sarah Station project were approved. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, if I could, I had one other comment that came up.
Let me just see if we have anybody from the public, if you don't mind, please.
Sure.
I don't see any other hands raised. We have 3 minutes, so that's perfect timing. Go ahead, Councilmember Schneider.
Thank you. And it came to my attention through multiple sources. The city has been doing some work, the pollinator garden, the new plantings by the new exercise center and the skateboard park. And what is happening is people who are walking their dogs are letting the dogs dig up the brand new plants or trample on them. And what's happening at the pollinator garden is parents are letting their children walk through it, pull up plants and step on them, which breaks my heart. So I hope within the capital improvement projects, or maybe, I guess, capital improvement, we get some signage up there and we start the public education. Please don't destroy what we have just spent time putting into place on that. And what's happening is public works staff are being blamed for not maintaining things, but there are witnesses to deliberate plant vandalism, and it breaks my heart. Thank you.
Hey, staff, perfect timing, perfect presentation. Really, we all really appreciate everything that went into this. And we get to adjourn this meeting with no other public comments or council comments at 6:58. Gives everybody 2 minutes to grab something. And we have
hey, Mayor, real quick, I think it would, it's appropriate to recognize the city council and the great leadership and work of the city council through, some difficult times and working together on balancing the budget and strategies. And the city council has attended many, many, many special meetings over the last 2 years. So it cannot go unrecognized, the time that the city council has put into the city over the last year and actually 2 years. So thank you very much, and appreciate all the dedication and commitment to the city. So thank you.
teamwork. Okay, so do we have a separate Zoom going forward? Elaine?
No, we're using the same Zoom link.